Long after the beat-em-up seemed to fade into obscurity during the 5th generation of consoles, Urban Reign was poised to slide under the radar in 2005. Despite the weight behind the Namco brand, this game of fisticuffs would become more of a cult classic rather than a mega hit, despite being part of the Fire It Up brand, which also included God of War. This is a shame, as while not quite on the same level of the undisputed classics like Streets of Rage, Urban Reign is a content-rich brawler that demands your attention through sheer force. Green Harbor is a city overrun with gangs, violence and danger. Brad Hawk is a fighter for hire who doesn't discriminate and enjoys the fight. Initially hired to investigate the kidnapping which has caused rampant gang wars, things quickly unravel into a conspiracy which goes very high up. This sets up the 3 chapters of the story, and although each mission gives a quick briefing beforehand, cutscenes are pretty infrequent. The few times they do show, they're corny and over the top, but undeniably fun.
Oh, you think you funny, huh?
You laugh on this now.
Urban Reign feels like a blast from the past, with intense beat-em-up action that eschewed the growing trend of sandbox games at the time. The story contains 100 missions, and each tends to revolve around knocking out anyone in the combat arena. Brad can perform a strike, which varies depending on the push direction of your analog stick, a grab, which can then be followed by a chain of punches or throw, and dodge with well-timed presses. You also have a special meter, which builds with attacks and damage, allowing you to perform special moves. More elements are added as you progress, including throwing a partner into the mix with whom you can perform double team maneuvers, and holding weapons, which deals more damage and can be thrown or even kicked towards goons. It's pretty simplistic, but it's easy to pick up and grasp the mechanics, letting you get into the punching quickly. But Urban Reign is far from easy. On the default difficulty, enemies will be hard to counter and dole out dangerous combos, which can leave you vulnerable. Fights often leave you outnumbered, especially at the start of the game, and you can become overwhelmed in an instant. Luckily, lower difficulties make the combat easier, but for those with pride, you may find yourself with gritted teeth as you progress. But with fast reloads, a plethora of combat options, and some determination, the challenge can be overcome and it is satisfying. The game's difficulty does also become more manageable once a partner is added in, allowing you to swap control between each character, signal for double teams, and interrupt certain moves. You can expect to spend between 4 and 8 hours on the story mode, depending on your choice of difficulty and how much trouble you have. But after that, a multitude of options become available. Free mode allows you to use any unlocked character to replay story missions, with factors such as the difficulty, longest combo, and health remaining rewarding you a rank. Challenge mode allows you to set up a series of waves, with options to change such as a number of waves and whether you have a teammate. There's also 4-person multiplayer, with special modes such as Weapon Battle, which has players vying for an elusive weapon. But it's the 50 unlockable characters which takes the cake, with an insane roster of varied fighters with different stats, fighting styles and specials. And you can even unlock a couple of Tekken cameos for good measure. Urban Reign benefits from a solid presentation that's only marred by repetition. Levels are nicely detailed and feature destructible damage, which sadly you can't then use as weaponry. Characters look impressive and feature excellent animation, bringing each fighting style to life. The only sad part is the lack of varied environments, leaving you feeling as though you're fighting in the same few locales. The story's tendency to face enemies repeatedly can also cause deja vu. The sound too features impactful violence, with potent strikes. The music doesn't tend to vary too much either, and the voice work is corny, in a charming way.
They think I nabbed one of their boys. Of course, they're probably just saying that to get a piece of us.
If you want to prove your innocence, I suggest you go find a lawyer.
Urban Reign is one of the more underrated gems of its generation, and despite an intimidating difficulty curve and some repetition, it's worth a punt for those who yearn to relive the glory days of the beat-em-up. The combat is tough yet rewarding, with a physical impact that keeps it fast and furious. The plethora of modes and unlockable characters give the game legs, the presentation is solid, and the story is cheesy fun. Unless you cannot stomach a steep learning curve, or are looking for a brawler with more variety, Urban Reign proves a good time.
That's why the bad guys fear me. And the good ones loathe me. That's who I am.